Good morning, Prosperity Inner Circle. I'm so excited today to bring us another amazing guest speaker today. Today on the show, we have Trace Reddick. And Trace Reddick is a phenomenal entrepreneur. He has started companies at a very, very young age, and he's currently also the best-selling author on Amazon of The Cash Factor. Trace is a speaker. He's a business strategist. He specializes in cash flow financing, streamlining processes. And I'm just very excited to have him on the show today, to speak with him and to learn from him in how he manages his operations and how he inspires entrepreneurs to take leadership, to develop processes so they can actually scale and grow into new markets. So at the end of Trace's MBA at the University of West Florida, Trace was actually published as an author in the prestigious American Journal of Management for his work in entrepreneurship and business. And in 2017, Trace very impressively was able to help a disrupted telemedicine startup. It's called IRIS, and it grew into, it made the list of the Inc. 500 for fastest growing companies. And he successfully deployed scalable operation practices. And that same year, Trace made it his mission to make a move in the cannabis industry, and he successfully raised millions of dollars. So I'm very excited to have Trace on the show today. So it's my pleasure to introduce and to bring in Trace Reddick, everyone. So we're gonna give Trace a chance to join the call.
Hey.
Hey, Trace, there you are. Good morning.
How you doing? Good morning. Thank you so much for having me here.
Of course, I was just giving giving you a great an introduction here on the show, and how's it going today?
Everything is going great. I'm sitting here in sunny Denver, Colorado, and you know, life couldn't be better.
That's amazing. And Trace, do you currently reside in Colorado, or is that where you operate? And do you switch? Do you work remotely?
I work here. I live here most of the time, but I also, our home office is in El Paso, Texas. So I go there once a month to visit with clients there and you know, do some things down in El Paso. But currently, for the last year or so, I've been in Denver working to build a market here.
Excellent. Wow, that's wonderful. Hey, and Trace, I already gave a little bit of a background, but I always would love to start and see what you're about. So would you give our audience a little background of who is Trace Reddick?
Oh man, well, I'm still trying to figure that one out myself. But so I am, you know, I'm a guy. I'm 35 years old, and when I was 22, I discovered how much I loved to open businesses, and I think what I really loved about it was my ability to escape some things. So you know, I was spending every waking moment involved in this business, and I didn't even own it, but I was there. I was part of the management team, and
yeah.
And so later on, I was pulled from that restaurant to be a higher level of management at another restaurant, and that's how the story of my life kept on going. I've never interviewed for a job. I've never had to apply for a job, and I've just been pulled from one project to another, and also starting some of my own businesses in between all that, all those things. And so I'm constantly on a quest to find, what is it that people do that consistently find success. And I'm a very inquisitive person. I always ask about people's businesses, usually things that are not really any of my business, but I'll ask them certain questions about their business because I just want to know what is it that they're doing that's causing them success, and what are they doing that is different, and how are they leveraging that difference? And because it teaches me things. It teaches me a lot about life. It teaches me about business. It teaches me about what's going on in the markets and how they're evolving. And so, I just my life and my passion has been to startups. It's been to the little guys that are just starting their business with big ideas, big potential and big possibilities, and focusing on them and giving them the attention that they deserve and that they need, because every great thing started out as something small, and before it was even something small, it was only an idea. And so it's important to nurture those people, the idea people, and help them learn to execute, or if they know how to execute, to help to guide them through that execution process. So that's who I am. That's what I live for. It really is what I live for.
Beautiful. And I'm wondering, Trace, where do you think that influence came from? Because you just mentioned that you started at a very early age, and I know for a fact you went to you studied in Florida. Is that correct?
I got my master's in Florida, and I got my undergrad at Ole Miss in Mississippi.
Oh, all right.
So
where do you think that your influence came from? Because it sounds to me that you have always been very curious by nature.
I have. I've always wanted to make money since I was a kid, and I saw my father making money. My first memory doing that, I was probably around 5 years old, and it was Halloween, and I went around like every other kid and collected Halloween candy, and I didn't eat it. I waited a couple days, and I went and tried to sell all that candy. I went door to door knocking, trying to sell that candy, because I thought, what kid doesn't want more candy? Like every kid wants candy, and I was like, I want their money. Incredible. So I tried to sell this pillowcase full of candy for $5, and I eventually did.
You did?
Yeah, I did. And but it was hard work. It was hard work. I thought I would just knock on one door and someone would buy it, but there were things that I didn't think about. 5-year-olds don't have money. Their parents have money. Their parents are the ones making the decisions. So it was, you got to address your consumer. But you've also got to address the decision maker. Yeah. And I was 5 years old trying to do that. But, looking a little bit deeper into that, my father, I'm going to get a little misty eyed. I can feel it, but my father had a huge influence on, my entrepreneurship, my, desire to own businesses, and to grow wealth and focus on those things, saving for the future, and instead of immediate gratification on buying things. So he was an entrepreneur. He started the Dorado Finance over 20 years ago. And that was his focus. He was always, fighting for the little guy, fighting for the people that had no voice or didn't have a voice yet. And so I think it's, kind of genetically ingrained in me to do this, and to feel this type of way.
So, can you give us a few examples? Because you mentioned your father. And I believe that, of course, the influence starts from the household. So what, when you mentioned your father was always working towards building wealth and thinking of the long term, right? Like the path that you're working towards, like what are some of those examples? Like was your father in business, for example?
Yeah, he so when I was about 7, he'd been in the transportation industry his entire life, and came from very humble beginnings. Shared a bedroom with his 3 brothers until he moved out of his parents' house at the age of 20 or so. And I drive by that house when I go back to Pensacola to know that could have been my life. That could, and that is a lot of people's lives, and that's what people are fighting to leave. And so it's very humbling. But when I was 7, he was fired as president of Roadrunner Trucking, and started his own business. He didn't really have many options, and so he was very fortunate in the way he's always treated people and the relationships that he's built. And in his first month in business, he made more in that month than he did the previous year salary as president of the trucking company. And
Incredible.
He said, "Wow!" And he took all the things that he didn't like from his experiences being an employee, and implemented that in his businesses. Always took care of his employees. Always took care of them. Our people have been working for us for over 25 years.
Wow.
And our general manager at Dorado Armida, she used to babysit me when I was a kid. And it's always putting people first. I think I'm getting on a tangent, I can tell, but there's a mindset of a leader and of a business owner that I think can be differentiated from that of a boss. And the mindset that I hold and that I cherish is that I don't our employees, they don't work for me. I work for them. And that change of focus really it has a tremendous impact on the relationship that we have. I am responsible for putting food on 7 families' tables.
Right.
Without that, there's nothing. And so, you got to keep working for your employees.
And let's dive a little deeper into that area. So can you give me an example what you mean by that? When you say I work for them, right? I put food on their table. Like what does that mean?
As the business owner, the buck stops here, right? So and there's another saying, the fish rots from the head down.
Uh-huh.
And so if I mismanage the business, or if my father mismanaged the business, treated it poorly, then it has an effect on the culture, right?
Right.
If you don't care about your own business, if you don't care about the cash management, if you don't care about the proper expenses, right? There's some good expenses and there's some needless expenses. If you're mismanaging the business, then your employees see that, and it has an effect on them. If you don't care about it, why should they?
Right.
And then also, particularly in finance, where with what we do, which is factoring invoices, the money that we generate is dependent upon the dollars that we have that are circulating out on the street. And if that money is to disappear, if our capital is to disappear, so does our business. And so, it's working very hard every day to ensure that our capital is protected and it's used wisely and effectively and efficiently, so that we can, grow from currently 7 employees, including myself, to 8 employees and to 9 employees by, just treasuring the business and the people that are involved in it.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, I completely relate to that. And one of my mentors always said, the speed of the leader will determine the speed of the pack. And when they talk about speed, it's not necessarily how fast you move, but it's how you carry yourself, right? It's how you do something. It's how you do everything. So if the quality and control and the leadership comes from the top down, you actually inspire a whole chain of command down the line to instill those same principles. So I completely relate. Hey, and I heard you say factoring. And would you be able to explain us a little bit about your business model for the audiences that may have never heard of factoring before?
Yeah, I was anticipating that question. Usually when I say that I'm a factor, the next question I get is, "Oh, what type of factory?" And or the only type of factoring I know about is what I learned in math in 6th grade, and so.
Or I would ask you, in which equation?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So invoice factoring is, if to sum it up, is a credit line that we extend to commercial businesses by purchasing their yet to be paid invoices. And so we are able to immediately give them cash in exchange for their invoices. And so they have consistent cash flow. They have cash on hand to meet all their monthly liability obligations and grow the business tremendously. It's a huge growth multiplier because it multiplies the liquidity in the business. And so it's a great tool because to get a factoring line, first of all, it takes only a couple of days to get enrolled to be able to be funded. Once you're funded or once you're enrolled, we can advance you money within minutes. I mean, you send me an invoice and I send you cash. It works very, very quickly, like a credit card.
Is there a cap on it?
Well, yeah, there is a cap, but the cap. So, and what I was about to say is one of the primary, one of the great things about factoring is we don't look at your credit as my client. I don't look at your credit. I look at your customer's business credit, and I ask myself, can they pay the invoice? And so if you're doing $100,000 a month with that business, I look at it and say, can this business pay $100,000 a month, or $300,000? That's the amount. That's how I would do that. About 90 days.
Yeah.
Worth. And so you could get put into $500,000, $1 million line of credit or a factoring facility in minutes. And so it's solely dependent on, is your customer able to pay that invoice? And that's the only thing that we look at. So through this mechanism, we help so many small businesses and new businesses grow like crazy. It's phenomenal. I can't think of another way to describe it, but we have one of our good customers, one of our good clients. They started out doing about $10,000 a month when they first started. And because of factoring and constantly having the injections of liquidity into their business, 4 years later, they did $7.2 million in revenue.
Wow. So you're saying 40 years later?
Four.
Yeah. 4 years later. Wow. Yeah. So they started with you at $10,000 per month. And because they joined this partnership with you guys 4 years later, they're able to turn over 7.5 million.
7.2, $7.5 million last year, 2018,
Wow.
2019.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yes, that's phenomenal, Trace. Very, very interesting, and thank you for providing a little bit of background, because the topic was certainly new to me. I had to look it up prior to to this interview.
I'm so used to that. Yeah.
So Trace, so you're in the business of cash flow, and I want to talk to you a little bit about your book, because I know you have currently a bestseller on Amazon.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. Talk to us a little bit on what inspired you to write the book, and when did you start thinking about writing a book?
So I'll answer your second question first. I knew I wanted to write a book probably in about 2016, 2015. I knew that I wanted to write a book, and I was involved in telemedicine at the time, and in a really disruptive startup that I loved. And so I wanted to write this book on disruption. And so I just didn't know exactly where to start, but fast forward a few years later, I got involved in the family business. So we're talking about a year and a half ago, January of 2019, and so I got involved in factoring, and I'm trying to deploy some cash, meaning I'm trying to go out and find new clients.
Yeah.
And my biggest hurdle was people didn't know what factoring was. I barely understood it before getting into the business.
Yeah, right.
And this has been my family's bread and butter for 20 plus years. So I said, okay, this is what the book has to be about. It hit me like a ton of bricks. I said the easiest way to answer this question and to show people how to leverage factoring is to write a book. And so I did. I wrote The Cash Factor in a few months, and self-published it on Amazon. And and it's been a tremendous tool. It's been a tremendous tool because I've been able to talk about my history as an entrepreneur, starting my own businesses, helping others start their own businesses, and some of the lessons that I've learned, and so that whoever reads this book can maybe not make some of the same mistakes that I did or that I observed, in some of the like I keep saying, some of the businesses that I helped start, and also some of the businesses that I consulted along the way as well. And so, I said, I've got to get this to the masses. I've got to show people that, there is a way to get capital for your business. You don't have to struggle with cash flow. You just don't have to.
Yeah.
There's ways, there's people out there that are solving that problem for you. So that's what I did.
No, that's incredible, and I hear this all the time. I have started a lot of businesses in my past, and one of the struggles was always getting enough capital, right? Either with the startups that I founded, that we were we were underfunded. So one of the challenges was always, how do you scale if you don't have enough cash flow to support those processes?
Right.
So I think it's a beautiful, beautiful solution. And I can just imagine with your service, how many companies and entrepreneurs you're able to actually help and grow scale, because you're not looking at their situation today. You're looking at where they're going based on their cash flow potential.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, it helps people tremendously every day. It's such a blessing to be able to serve these entrepreneurs and these business owners in growing their business and helping them to scale it up, with instant financing. It's an incredible financial vehicle and tool to use in a commercial business. It really is.
Hey, and Trace, in the world of cash flow and financing, I imagine that you look at things like streamlining processes, logistics, strategy. In your experience, if you would maybe to some of our audiences right now on the call, right, in the financial realm, in planning for the future, into scaling their companies, in your experience, what are some of the key determinant factors for a company to let's say to move from one spot and really take it up a next level? Like where do you see that the growth really is?
It's a really good question. I think it starts with having an optimistic mindset. I think that's where you really have to begin. You have to be able to look at the world, at the market and the markets, with open eyes. And so, as an opportunist, as somebody that's optimistic, I think you're able to identify opportunities much more easily. They present themselves in ways. And so once you see an opportunity, you've got to be able to see the path to realize that opportunity. And I think that starts with being optimistic. Going back to when I was raising capital, I had even my own business partner was telling me like Trace, you've got to be real. I was trying to raise $30 million. And he was like, Trace, you need to get real. How you're not gonna be able to do this. And needless to say, it dampened our friendship. But I went out and I raised that $30 million. Don't tell me that I need to get real. That was real. Yeah. Raising that 30 million was real. Helping, working with Iris to end preventable blindness in the United States and the world. That was real. It's a huge mission, but it's real. And you've got it. So you've got to be an optimist. You've got to have a positive mindset. And mental
toughness, I imagine.
Pardon?
To have mental toughness for people that tell you that you can't do it or that you have to be realistic.
Yeah. And that should go without saying. If you own a business, you've got to be tough mentally. You've got to be prepared for rejection after rejection, obstacle after obstacle. You'll never be short of obstacles in a business, whether it's 1 day old or 100 years old, because adaptation is the only thing that you can guarantee is going to need to happen. So, and that ties back to the strategy, right? And so, you've got to look for new things, new applications for your solution to the marketplace. If your solution is tacos, a taco truck, you've got to look for ways to cater to a new market, right? One that maybe didn't exist before. Yeah. I in my book I wrote an example about foot what do you call them? I can't think of it. Like Dr. Scholl's, right? So Dr. Scholl's was created for cushioning for your shoe, and it's for the working man, right? Yeah. If you take a step back and if you're working in that modus operandi and you're saying we've got to capture every blue collar worker that stands on their feet all day, well, you're only capturing one part of the market, right? And if you look and you say, okay, who else ever complains that their feet hurt? Women in high heels, right? Yeah. Think about it. Oh my God. There's an opportunity to innovate. build your brand and build your foothold in the marketplace. Athletes, elderly people, you know, there's, you know, and that's just one example of things, but you know, it's taking what you think you know about what you're doing and throw it out the window and say, if I was going to do this all over again, how could I do this differently to capture a new market or to solve a new solution using the same core competencies of my current solution, right? That way you're not making a huge stretch. And it takes a lot of thinking. It's a lot of critical thinking. And, you know, that's where, you know, a really skilled business coach can come in and really help you. Mentors, of course, can really help play a role in that. And also just asking questions. This goes back to what I was telling you in the beginning, where, you know, I'm so morbidly curious about businesses. I ask business owners and even if they don't own the business, I'm asking people about their practices and their results and things like that, because I'm constantly looking to see how can I, what can they teach me that I don't know? And is that something that I can look at with what I'm doing? And can I use it as a benchmark? Can I leverage something from that to do something over here? Constantly. So you have to ask questions, constantly asking questions. And I think it really has to come from a place of authenticity, and really being curious about what it is that you're doing and love of what you're doing and the love of the people that you're doing it for. Yeah.
No, I think that's very, very powerful. And you said something that is very important to me, which is critical thinking. I sometimes feel when I'm coaching and mentoring startups and young entrepreneurs, they tend to just run with whatever they're building, right? They're just building, but nobody actually stops themselves and take a pause and just look at what is in front of you and look what is around you. And you mentioned that very specifically, leverage what you can leverage that works well for somebody else, that can kind of tie into your business, like a puzzle piece.
Right.
And I believe that sometimes an hour of critical thinking can save you a month of hard work.
Oh yeah, 100%. You know, I always recommend that every quarter, a business, you know, get your teams together, get your team together, and map out where are you, how did you get to where you are right now, and say where are we going, and how are we going to get there. And then, you know, the next quarter is, are we where we said we were going to go the previous quarter? Do we want to change where we want to go? Have things happened in the marketplace that have basically told you as the business, you've got to adapt. And COVID, I think, is the perfect example of that. You know, so many people, this was something that nobody prepared for except for I think it was the French Open, the tennis. They were the only, like, they got a huge payout because they had pandemic insurance. It's crazy. So you can kind of surmise that you know, nobody planned for this to happen, and all of a sudden people were forced to adapt. So you know, a plan that they had at the beginning of the year, you know, in January, they said, okay, this is what we're going to do this year. This is how we're going to do it, and this is where we're going to end up. Come March, that went out the window. Yeah. You know, that went out the window. Businesses were forced to pivot. They were forced to adapt. And so it's going back to what you're saying, it's very important. Like Gene Wickman says in his book, Traction, which is a great book, you've got to be able to climb the tree every now and again to make sure that you're on the right path. You know, because you're going through the forest and everything looks the same, and you've got to be able to climb that tree sometimes and say, yeah, we're still going in the right direction. And so and I say I recommend to businesses to do that quarterly.
Beautiful.
You know, certainly annually, but I think quarterly is better.
Very, very powerful. Hey, Trace, I want to circle back in something you said earlier. You touched upon a little bit of mentorship and business coaching, right? So how does that play a role in your organization, or maybe even some of the companies and clients that you work with? Is mentorship and coaching important?
It is important. The coaching is something that I don't emphasize a whole lot right now. It is very, very important. However, you know, there are lots of people out there that will mentor you for free. You know, that will kind of take you under their wing, and they're all around you. And so I think mentorship is super, super critical. You can find mentors for all types of things within your own circles. You know, I look at my father as a mentor. I look at my uncle as a mentor. You know, other business owners that I know that are successful in their own rights. You know, I look at them as mentors, and my clients, they look, some of them look up to us, to me as a mentor, or to, you know, one of our account reps as a mentor, and, you know, former bosses, you know, or, you know, former leaders that they know in the community. That you know, you can find mentors in so many different ways. It's building that relationship to where you can go to them with a problem or an obstacle that you're facing, and get some very sage advice, and you know, someone that is able to you know, kind of quickly climb up that metaphorical tree.
Yes.
Say, you know, this is maybe asking some critical questions, you know, to think about things, maybe not give you a direct answer, but ask the question that you need to really kind of mull over to come to your own answer.
Yeah.
You know, but yes, it's super critical to have that. If you don't think you need a mentor, or if you don't think a mentor is valuable, I should say, I think you really need to really reevaluate your position.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it takes a village to raise a baby. It takes a village to help you. You know, no one doesn't need help. They might be stubborn and not want it, but
yeah, that's a huge difference.
If you can open yourself up to some advice and to maybe some difficult questions, you know, you could really find yourself in a much better position coming out the other side of that. Absolutely.
Hey, Trace, so currently are you all in the factoring business?
Yeah, all in on the factoring business. Well, you know, it's actually a really hard question to answer. I will always have my things, the other things that I do. I have a pin or a promotional item manufacturing business called Superior Custom Pins. I've had that for the last 10 years, and I also have interests in real estate and things like that. So to say that I'm all in to factoring, is true in a sense, because this is what I do. Yeah. But I also do other things, and all to benefit the factoring company, right? To increase our own personal capital, pool of capital.
Yes. So, yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, that is what I was curious about, because I see many times that when people do too many things in the same time, while they haven't mastered that one particular cash cow, their vehicle, they're kind of spreading themselves too thin. But if you do it the opposite way, where you focus and you become very successful at that one vehicle, it's very easy to venture off into different areas and kind of fund these operations, and that take you there much quicker.
Right. Yeah. It's so important for new business owners, or I should maybe say first-time business owners. It is very important to focus on what's in front of you and learn it like the back of your hand, and get it to a point where you can step away from it and the business will not be affected. Yeah. And then you can start to focus on some things. You've got to, people I think tend to forget that you've got decades on this earth, and it doesn't all have to be done in the next 3 months.
Yes.
Or this week.
Yes.
You know? And so if you really want something to pay off, and granted, there's some people out there that can do a lot of things at once. However, I'd be willing to bet that if I'm having a conversation with you, you're not one of them.
Yeah, there's only a few Elon Musks out there.
That's right. That's right. And, you know, if you think about it, Elon Musk, you know, he got to start with PayPal, you know, and that's what really put him on the map. And he was able to take that
money,
the money and all of the things to go after the next few things. But yeah, to be able to do SpaceX and Tesla at the same time. Yeah. I mean, that's incredible. And like I said, if I'm having a conversation with you, you're probably not in that tier. Yeah. So which means I need to raise my tier. But yeah, it's, you're talking about 3 to 5 years of intensely focusing on what's in front of you right now, the business that you're in right now. 3 to 5 years, focus on that. Don't get distracted by shiny pennies. Focus on that, and over that 3 to 5 years, know that you want to work on other things. So that part of your focus in that 3 to 5 years is saying, I need to be able to step away from this business in 5 years and it run the way that it is today, or that it needs to run at that point, so that you can go do another thing. And, that way you have all these things, and all roads lead back to, in my case, Dorado Finance, right?
Right.
Or, ABC Unlimited. It's creating that wealth empire. And one thing that I found that has been really cool, that I've never really given a look until recently, was cash value life insurance. I think is incredible for creating generational wealth in one generation. I think about someone that's having a kid and want to make sure that their kid is set up. Having a cash value life insurance policy for yourself at the age of 35, 40, that's an expensive proposition, but it's not for your kid. Yeah. And, for a very small, for the cost of your cell phone bill, you can have a cash value life insurance policy for your child, so that, when they are at retirement age, they've got
over $1 million, right?
Yeah. A huge pool of money at their disposal. A death benefit, but also an annual salary that's greater than what
most people would accumulate in their job. Yeah,
incredible. Yeah. It's like the best retirement insurance. I can't believe I've overlooked it this many years. And so, I think it's a very quick way for people to get out of to elevate a wealth class in one generation.
Yeah, I love that you said that, and I would love to chat with you about that some more, because that's one of the things that we do, right? Our vehicle is actually, as a wealth strategist, we focus a lot on the cash value life insurance, or the IRC 7702, as a vehicle, exactly in the way that you just explained it right now. So I love that you said that. Hey, and Trace, we have a few more minutes left. I wanted to know, what is next for you? I know that you mentioned you love real estate. You have some other businesses on the side. your main vehicle is the factoring company. But let's take you to 5 years from now, right? Let's take you a little bit into the future. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? What does Trace Reddick, what will you be doing?
You know, that's a really good question. In 5 years, Superior Custom Pins will have a dedicated office. We'll have a fixed location. Right now, everybody works from home. Everybody's remote, and it's a part-time gig for everybody. And so we'll have an office. We'll have a inside sales team and 3 full-time graphic designers. I'll also have an apartment complex, albeit probably a small one if we're talking about 5 years from now. But I'll have an apartment complex, and I'll also be raising capital for Dorado Finance, so that we can, our capital pool will be larger than what it is today. So right now I'm focusing on deploying cash, and in 5 years I see myself raising cash, and having a sales team within Dorado that's going out and deploying the cash. So
Beautiful.
yeah,
Beautiful.
that's where I see myself in 5 years, and in 10 years will be a magnified version of that.
Beautiful. I love it, man. I love it.
Yeah.
And Trace, so your book is currently available on Amazon.
Yep.
So how can people get their hands on your book? Do they go to Amazon? And
yeah, you can go go to Amazon. You can type in my name or type in Cash Factor, and you can buy it. The Kindle version I think is $4.99. The paperback is $9.99. If you're watching this, you can email me at trace@doradofinance.com, and I'll send you a copy. It's always nice to make some money from this book that I spent a lot of years learning these lessons. They were very expensive lessons, but I wrote the book to get it in the hands of people that need it. And if $5 or $10 is I care more about the impact it has on you than getting the $5 or $10. So yeah. Email me at trace@doradofinance.com or message me on Instagram at the Cash Factor, and I'll get a book in your hands.
Beautiful. And we're going to make sure, Trey, that we will list those details here somewhere below in the video, so our viewers can get in touch. Now, what are some of the other platforms where people can go and follow? Because I certainly believe that this was a fascinating conversation. So where can people stay connected with you?
Instagram is the best way, and that's at the Cash Factor. I'm also on Facebook, Trace Reddick MBA, and Twitter is also at the Cash Factor. But I'm most active on Instagram, and that's what I really love. And my personal page, which is what I'm most active on, is at Trace the Face. So
beautiful.
And so yeah, so those are some really great ways to see what I'm up to, and
yeah, we're gonna make sure that we list all those details here below. And I'm certainly grateful for you, Trace, for coming on to the show today. It was an absolute pleasure.
I'm equally grateful. I was thrilled at the opportunity to speak with you, and I thank you so much for the opportunity.
Of course, and we're gonna stay in touch, and we're gonna keep following you. You opened our eyes to factoring, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned you make the whole cash flow thing seems easy, and it gives people actually a lot of hope for people that are working hard every day. So I think you are on a beautiful mission, and we're going to make sure that we're going to spread the word for you, because I think that everybody should know about this. Yeah, so we're certainly going to stay in touch with you and following you on your journey.
That'd be great. Yeah. And, you know, relative to factoring, everyone needs to know about this, whether they use Dorado Finance or not. You know, that's neither here nor there. I think it's just so important that people know that factoring is out there, right? It's just so important, because there's a local factor in your city that you could work with and develop that relationship with. And it's so critical that businesses know that there's a way to get capital for your business that isn't giving up equity and is not incurring debt.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Of course. Hey, and Trace, we like to do one more thing before we close, before this is a wrap up. For our viewers today, is there one piece of advice, if you speak directly to all the entrepreneurs and the people that are looking into the future to get their cash flow right, is there one piece of advice from Trace Reddick that you could give them?
Yeah, there's actually two. I have to say two.
Okay.
And the first is, learn to be happy in the process. Happiness is on the near side of the goalpost. Okay. If you make happiness on the other side of a goal, you'll never be happy.
Yeah.
And so to go along with that, is something that I always keep in mind. Do not confuse a clear vision with a short path. Wow. Can you repeat that one more time? Do not confuse a clear vision with a short path. Beautiful. That's so inspiring, Trace. Thank you so much. And it was an absolute pleasure. And I hope to bring you on once again down the road. But for now, Trace, it was a pleasure. And I wish you a fantastic Wednesday. Likewise, you too. And to everyone else that was listening, you know, keep going at it and don't give up. You're so close, you don't even realize it. So thank you so much. Thank you, Trace. Appreciate it. Bye, guys. Bye-bye.